Like to call the meeting to order. If we would all stand, face the flag, with the hand of the heart, we'll do the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Simon, will you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Corbin,
Here.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Digital,
Here.
Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Mayor Denner.
Here. We have the agenda in front of us. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. Second.
Is there any further comments or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Nothing under appearances acknowledged tonight. We'll move down to consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll motion to approve the consent calendar and pull personnel out of the consent calendar and put it on the new business. Number 5. Just to have a discussion. on that. Yeah, just make it number 5.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Not seeing anything under unfinished business, we'll move down into new business. Item number 1, do we have any updates or discussion on COVID-19?
A quick update. We currently are sitting in a better place than we did a week ago. So we have 0 positive cases amongst employees right now and 0 close contacts. All of the close contacts that we had before expired at the end of last week or over the weekend. So we've had at this point, some departments have had several employees who have come back with positive cases. But currently we're sitting very, very good, I'd say. The peak, I say optimistically, knock on wood, that it seems like it's past us at this point.
Any other comments or discussion on COVID? Any? Item number 2, adopt resolution number 2022-04, amend establish employee compensation for 2022. Kristen, 1 and 3.
Chris, I can maybe provide some background to this, and then Kristen can fill in anything that I might miss. Similar to the conversation as last fall or early winter, when we had approved the personnel resolution, we had 2 positions which were new positions. We said we wanted to bring back to the commission once details are finalized. This is the second position. It is an administrative assistant for the engineering community development department. We are recommending a couple tweaks to the resolution as far as the title and the grade. I will say that from our discussions, as we finalize the details, we found this position will be performing administrative duties as it relates to different aspects of the department, from building permits, sidewalk improvements, code enforcement, zoning items, and other related projects. They're also going to be providing customer service, to be that first front person for people when they walk into the engineering office, and it also will be a benefit because oftentimes our staff are out in the field, and this will have somebody home in that office, so that there's always going to be somebody there for the public to speak with. And then they're also going to be coordinating with infrastructure improvement projects as well as FEMA projects, which previously have been done over the utilities department. Due to some of those changes or some of those details of the duties and responsibilities, we're recommending changing the title to Administrative Assistant 2. This is a new title for the city. Currently, we have some administrative assistants with no numbering scheme, and at a grade 13. The position was included in the budget at a grade 13, so there's no financial shortage that we'd be expecting for this fiscal year. But the resolution had placed it at a grade 12. We discussed whether we should be titling an administrative assistant versus a coordinator. We do have both those titles in existence in the city, and we found that the duties and responsibilities for this position just kind of land somewhere in between, and that's why we're recommending the administrative assistant 2. I think that includes all the details I would share, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Kristen, did you have anything to add?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, did you have anything?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-4, amend establish employee compensation for 2022?
Motion.
I'll second.
Is there any further comments or discussion? Hearing any? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3, authorize the mayor to sign the professional service agreement with Banner Associates, Inc., Park Creek Wall Site 2, 4th Street and 5th Street Bridge improvement. Do you want to come on up, Brian, and fill us in on this one?
So this is an agreement to have Banner and Associates provide engineering services. This would be to provide final design of the Park Creek Site 2 improvements, which is Memorial Park, 4th Street Bridge improvements and 5th Street Bridge improvements, as well as to provide Park Creek Walls Site 2 construction services. That would be construction site oversight and some staking. Site 2 at Memorial Park, this will keep the project proceeding for the final design. There's been quite a bit of preliminary work that's been accomplished for this in collaboration with FEMA, the state, Banner, and the city. So this agreement takes it to the final design where we can have construction drawings prepared and then get ready for the bidding of the project. Weston Blasius was going to log on. I'm not sure if he still will, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any, and I'd recommend approval of this. These costs are eligible for FEMA and state assistance.
And Ryan, this is Wes, and I did call in, Ryan, so if there's any questions you want to deflect over, certainly do that.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign professional service agreement with Banner Associates, Inc., Park Creek Wall Site 2, 4th Street and 5th Street Bridge improvement? So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or discussion?
Gene, go ahead.
This was part of your survey, correct? From with the community survey, it was brought up a little bit.
Yeah, and that I'll be able to get to in the presentation in the agenda here as
Okay.
far as both creek maintenance as well as the wall repairs. The question.
How far out are we from getting the walls repaired, would you say, Ryan?
That was maybe just hold on, we'll get to that.
Okay, you'll get to that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Unless you want to answer now.
No,
Okay.
you're gonna get to it. Yeah, that's fine.
Any other questions, comments? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Move down into item 4. Thank you, Ryan. We'll have Jameson's talk on 2021 creek maintenance overview.
There, she's on it. Want to spend a few minutes just to provide an update on the activities that the city staff conducted on creek maintenance over the last year. Jump to the next slide. There we go. So the reason for this, is, as Dre just alluded, last fall, I believe we did a community survey and we asked the residents or community members to rank various city services. We probably had, I think, about 19 lists or something like that. It was quite a few. And of course, somebody has to come out on bottom. And in this case, it was creek maintenance. That was something that our citizens identified as something that maybe we could improve upon. So I wanted to make sure to follow up to communicate to the public what our activities were over this last year, as well as communicate to the commission, and then gather your feedback and direction moving forward. If we do want to have more outcomes or more maintenance conducted in the future, we'll need to discuss what resources we would need to achieve that desired outcome in mind. And then last, use this as an opportunity to discuss the creek wall repairs and the timeline for that too. Slide, please. The background in creek, just so we have the same understanding. When people call the creek, I've learned as a new transplanted Madison that there's a few creeks in town, Silver Creek, Park Creek, and Northwest Creek. So these creeks come in at 3 different areas of town. And they join up kind of in the middle for the southwest side and then, excuse me, to the southeast side and exit through the city to the southeast. All in all, when I did some measuring on Beacon, it was about 5.2 miles of creek within city limits. There's additional 1,500 feet on property that's outside the city limits, but on city-owned property out by the wastewater treatment facility as well, which we'd be responsible for. Around those creeks, we have substantial areas of floodplain and floodway. So of the roughly 3,000 acres within city limits, there's 360 acres that are within the floodplain, which is 12% or about 1/8 of the city, which would fall into that area. Looking back at the most recent flood in 2019, the eligible costs that came from the damage there all total up to $5.4 million. So just establishing what the need is for keeping the creek maintained and getting those walls repaired back up. Go to the next slide, and if any commissioners have any questions anytime, go ahead and jump on in. So last year, these are the inputs that we put into creek maintenance activities. We had about 650 hours of staff time devoted towards maintenance. That labor cost was just over $15,000, and then the equipment cost is almost $33,000 for a total of about $48,000 that were spent on creek maintenance activity with that equipment over the 650 hours. Go ahead. So what do we get for those resources? I think, and I can defer to some of the staff we have here as well, but from what I've gathered, it seems like we have maybe done more in the creeks this year than we have in the past. This includes mowing along creeks, a lot of cleaning around channels and underneath bridges. There was significant dirt removed, especially along the bridges. There'd be 18 loads at Southwest 4th Street, 12 loads of dirt at Lincoln and Center, another 15 loads at Liberty and Josephine. So pretty substantial dirt removed in those areas. Walls were reinforced along Lincoln to Northeast 1st Street. And then we've installed new railings, which we built in-house, but then we had professionally galvanized and installed, which we expect to last for a very, very long time. Next picture is another couple of pictures of the staff removing the dirt, just massive quantities that were underneath the bridge there. And the next slide shows kind of what the finished product is, how they are cleaned and emptied at that point in time. We'll move into creek wall repairs. We have 3 projects, 3 sites that are established for repairs following the most recent flooding. Site 1 is north of 7th Street. So far, the preliminary design is complete with final design upcoming. The Clomar has been submitted to FEMA, or that submittal is in progress, I should say. And then we are planning on bidding and constructing these improvements this year in 2022. The estimated project cost is about $555,000. Site 2 is at Memorial Park. Here, the final design is to be completed by the end of this summer. So we're expecting to bid it in the fall of 22 and having construction complete by midsummer of next year. And this is a bigger project. Total cost is about $2.6 million on that. And finally, site 3 is from Egan Avenue to Harth Avenue. And here the Clomar will be submitted this summer, and then the final design is completed with project bid in winter of 22, construction completed by winter of 23 at about $1.4 million cost. That one's last. We're still finalizing the last easement that's needed with the property owner in the area. And I should note that the final deadline for all these projects to be complete is November. Ryan, help me out. Something of 23.
I think it's 18.
Okay, if we're going with the 18th, nobody's gonna disagree with it at this point. So we'll just say mid-November of 2023. So this last project is running closer to that deadline, which we've discussed with Banner, about the need to keep things moving forward as quickly as we can. If needed, we can request an extension from FEMA. I think they can see that we are making progress and moving forward with getting things done as quickly as we can. We're not trying to string things out at all. So that's it. Just want to keep things quick, but provide that presentation to the commission, to the public. I'll stand by for questions on the creek maintenance or the creek wall repairs. Looking at you, Jim. I know you've got questions.
I don't know why they're taking so long because just lucky we got dry year.
Yeah.
Where you'd be spending 3 times that cost.
On the maintenance or the repairs?
I'm repairing the ones that washed out now.
Yeah,
We haven't had any water.
yeah, it's a good point. Ryan, do you want to just touch on kind of what the timeline is on how we're moving with the repairs?
Yeah, so when we talk about those COMARs, stands for conditional letter of map revision, those can take up to 270 days for FEMA to approve those. It's just long timelines, long approval processes.
But it could cost 3 times that we had high
If
water.
we get another flood and cause more damage, certainly.
Any further comments?
Well, I would say this, Mike and the parks, and Gary and that, they did a real good job. But there's still a lot to do. We got a dry year, not much snow. I think we could be cutting more trees there. If you look up on 8th Street on the north side to 7th Street, there's a lot of city-owned property, a lot of trees along the bank. Also down by the ballpark going west out to past Union. Mike did a super job in there, but he got carried away with the ball games and stuff and didn't get back. But he did a good job where he did. But I think we gotta keep working on it. We got a dry year, that's when we gotta do, we can't do it, we got banks full of water.
Yeah, I'll note again, the 5.2 miles, it is a lot of creek to cover. I know our staff did the best they can. They do have other activities as well, as you noted, ball games. So when a tournament's coming in, they have to be able to build resources to making sure that those fields are in good condition, that our guests that are coming to our community are able to enjoy that event. Creek maintenance is also very important, and our staff are able to work that into the schedules the best they can. And I guess that kind of brings us back to one of the objectives I had at the beginning is if more resources or more work is needed on the creek, we can certainly look at that. But at this point, our staff they're busy 40 hours a week too, so we would need more resources. So I'll leave that to commission whether you'd like to see a different outcome in the future.
When was the phase 1 construction start?
On the wall, the
Yeah,
repairs.
on the walls or the first?
Looking at, have construction this year yet, yeah, the 22 all.
Completed by fall.
That'd be at the site one.
Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they usually work in the fall because that's when the water level is down. That's.
Yeah.
Usually. Anything else?
Presentation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
thank you.
And if there's topics in the future that you'd like more information on, I'd be happy to put together something similar in other areas as well. That's right. Yeah.
I do have one more question too, Ryan, probably. So that third section of that creek maintenance, that's submitted to FEMA, then we're waiting that 270 days.
Yeah, so well, Banner's working on that. We don't have the final contract for that yet. We're trying to finalize our easements there.
Sure.
We've had some difficulty getting easements from some property owners there. Once we get that, then we'll be able to go forward with that formal process.
So potentially we could bid that out this fall too, maybe. Or maybe not.
I think we'd say we want to move as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
When they say it takes up to 270 days, it might take less.
We're
Right?
up against that.
Best case scenario, it's certainly possible, but we're gonna have to plan for a longer scenario, I think, which is more realistic.
The Creek Walk Memorial Park, is that the one that filters in behind the church, or is that phase 3?
That's three.
That's 3.
Why are we having a hard time getting these ones?
There's just some concern about. So in that area, instead of going back and repairing the rock walls as they stand, those historic rock walls will be removed and there'll be a sloped bank with riprap. And that will get closer to some of the structures. And so there's some concern from the property owners on if their foundation will be protected. And they just want some of those questions answered. So Weston Blasius from Banner and I had a call with a couple of people last week, and we think we're heading in the right direction now.
Thank you.
Anything else? Move down to.
Somewhere along the line, you guys are gonna have to figure out a grant or something to put footings back in underneath them, that rock wall. Because a lot of footings are bad. And somewhere along the line, I think that's where the trouble came in down behind the Presbyterian church. Is your footings are washed out, and up in Memorial Creek, they're washed out. And somewhere along the line, you guys are gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, on site 2 at Memorial Park, that is part of the construction. Sheet piling, and then we'll put some footings under the wall. If you look at that, the wall actually kind of slid. And it's due exactly what you said.
Because when I went with FEMA and you guys, they stuck a 9-foot rod underneath the wall and didn't hit nothing back there, so. And that's on the south side, that's.
Yeah, it's devoid of footings there, and then, so site 1 and site 3, however, those will not go back that same way. There'll be riprap channel, slope banks, so you won't have the footing there, but it won't be a wall.
Does that construction go all the way to the footing, a new footing? For 1 and 3 then, or?
So there will just be, there's really not a footing, because it's just a slope bank and riprap. And then the bottom of the channel is just in situ soil. It's not, there's no structure at the bottom of that.
Brian, don't you think they'll have to pound that steel down like they did down, further down, like
The sheet pilings, yeah,
Piles.
they'll do that in Memorial Park.
they will? They're gonna have to one day, to hold it.
Yeah,
Anything else? Not hearing anything, we'll move down into item number 5, personnel.
Sure. So we have personnel on the agenda typically monthly for various changes, possibly more often than monthly, but I know there's been a couple different changes in here which are more unique to the city. In the past, when employees have taken on interim responsibilities, largely due to their supervisor or somebody above them resigning and having the position vacant, I don't think any changes are made to employee compensation. And I know we've discussed in and out of this room how we want to do that moving forward. So within the personnel here, there's a couple different increases, which would be temporary increases of 5% for employees within the electric department and the library department to fairly compensate them for the extra duties that they are doing. Sometimes we have positions leave and staff are able to jointly absorb the responsibilities. In this case, these staff aren't just taking over position responsibilities of their peers, but they're taking over the responsibilities of supervisors above them. And so that's kind of a new level of duty that we see for the employees. So our recommendation is to have those 5% increases for those duties, just to fairly compensate our employees in the interim until those positions are filled. Anybody have any questions?
I guess I've asked Jameson and Commissioner Shaw about moving this down. I have some concerns. First of all, I want to let everybody know that I'm in favor of giving fair compensation to anybody that takes on more roles than they are. It isn't about that. But I have a couple concerns how we're going to implement this. First of all, I'm concerned about implementing a policy that we haven't even voted on or made a policy on. That's the first one. The second one, I'm not in favor of retro paying these employees back in 2021. we wanted to do this, this should have been done back then. And the last concern I have is I would like to see a time line on this, for a couple of these, we're just putting out there that we're gonna leave them have the 5% increase until we hire someone. I'd rather see us put a date on it, December 31st, so we can revisit it. Seems like if we don't put that date on there, it goes to the wayside and we don't talk about it again. Those are the three discussion points I had on it.
I guess I am in favor of paying people for doing work. If it is retroactive. I guess I don't have a problem with it. They've been doing the job since whatever, September, October, the case may be. How do we not pay somebody retroactive now? And then all of a sudden we decide in 6 months from now, we're gonna put some policy in place. So then are we gonna go back and pay those people from before? I just think we're opening up more of a can of worms. by
We need to
not
start in
compensating.
point.
Yeah, we have to start like somewhere.
And why didn't, I guess my concern is, we had this problem back, on 9/8, according, why didn't we do something then? They picked up the
We probably
slack
should.
then.
Yeah, we probably
Why
should.
didn't we do it then?
That's-
We didn't retroactivate when we had our impasse with our electric department.
You're talking way before.
Yep, on the impasse.
I'm afraid we didn't maybe handle that right either. I wasn't on the division at that point.
I think.
And I'm not.
No, no,
your
I
points are very
understand.
valid. I
Yeah,
understand that,
no,
but I also feel like we should be compensating people for picking up slack when the report's shorthanded.
oh, I don't disagree
We're
with
having
you.
a hard enough time finding employees as it is. They don't want to make it harder when we don't compensate them for doing extra work. Just, and that's
I
what
guess,
say.
I guess that's, I mean, we've had several people step up, especially in the engineering department when Chad left. We didn't go back and pay them. I guess it's real. I just hope we're not opening a can of worms. When an employee, I mean, how far do we go? How far before we say, okay, you guys get a 5% raise? Is it taking on how much extra work?
And maybe that's the case where we need, if we're gonna do this moving forward, I think we take care of the ones that we've taken care of, but I think moving forward, we say, okay, we're gonna put in place, you've got 90 days to get somebody hired, and then we can always come back and reevaluate it at 90 days. But we're taking an awful lot of time trying to get people hired right now, because there aren't a lot of people just lining up to take
Well,
jobs.
we had an electrical superintendent.
Yeah, I understand that, but we don't
For some
anymore.
reason,
He's not here, and that's his choice. We all have choices, unfortunately.
I just think if we didn't pay on the electrical side when they were in impasse, and I think we're setting a bad
But they
precedent
weren't
here.
taking on a supervisory role, part of that, correct? That was their current position, no added responsibility.
That has nothing to do with this. We were in impasse with them, and that was one of the
Isn't that what
things.
this is for, James? Added responsibility?
Check carefully here, and I'll acknowledge that. I will note for the electric department that last, let me say, August, we had the superintendent resign. And a couple weeks after that, the lead lineman resigned. So we do have 2 vacancies there, both of supervisory nature. And I would say that part of the rationale behind an increase for those 2 employees is because they are taking more duties that would be supervisory in nature.
And again, I want to make sure everybody knows, I'm not against paying someone if they step up to the plate. That is nothing to do with it.
What do you?
Why didn't we do this back then? Why are we retro paying?
Maybe we didn't know it was gonna last this long, and now we gotta go
It
back
does.
and correct it.
We didn't know our impasse was gonna last for 3 years, the last impasse, and we didn't pay them back pay.
That was a bad deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
No.
And I don't wanna get in where we
How
get,
does this do that? This doesn't lead to that.
yeah, it does.
How?
Cause it's, if someone comes up and picks up extra slack, I mean, where's the cutoff on that?
Like,
Where's the
we asked
cutoff?
them to pick up extra slack, or they just randomly take it upon themselves?
We asked them,
Okay.
just
So
like,
we should compensate them. We can take this a case by case. It's not like we have 10,000 people working for the city. We can handle this, and we don't need a policy or the commission. We can change.
you
We
don't
can
want a
change
policy.
people's pay as we see fit without a policy.
Okay, if that's the case, we're not gonna put them on consent calendar. We should discuss that because that's more money that we're spending. And we should come together as a crew and decide on that. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. The last comment I want to make, again, this is nothing to do with not paying someone for not doing extra work. Like I said, we had 2 gentlemen up in the engineering department that picked up a lot of slack. And nothing was done there.
They'll bring it to us next week.
Do I have a motion?
Kind of
to-
that 5%, what do you, what kind of figure you talking about? What kind of wages you're gonna put 5% on? What are they $100,000 workers or what?
Just going down in the order that's on the list, the new wages would be hourly, 39.14, a salary at 60,132.80, and then 2 more hourlies at 22.93 and 22.25.
But 60,000 and 5%, pretty good raise, isn't it? I mean, the way the economy is, I think it's a big raise.
We didn't have an $80,000 employee there running the business either, so $3,000 is pretty cheap to have somebody pick up some slack.
Still pretty good raise.
It's good, yeah, it is,
I
but
mean,
so you're telling me you would work for free? Is that what you're telling me? Like, if you picked up extra work, you don't want any extra compensation for
not
that?
if I'm making 60,000.
Okay, well,
We got some job openings, Jim.
you come back,
I mean,
find something for you to do.
I don't know, there's a lot of the city
I'm
workers
just,
ain't making that kind of money.
I understand that. But
I don't know, maybe you are up school, I don't know.
my salary is published if you want to go find it. It's out there. I got nothing. to
I just
hide.
brought that up. I just wondering where you're shooting the figures at.
I guess I'm in favor of also of this 5% retroactive. I think, we didn't have the policy in place, and that's pretty much on us, and that it probably should have been available for Ryan and still could be, in my opinion. So I guess my opinion is to suggest that we do get clarification on this, whether this is policy or how we're gonna handle these scenarios, but we need to start at a stopping point, and now's as good a time ever to start.
Is that a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Any further comment or discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Full comment? Yeah, okay. Any announcements? Not hearing any. Do I have a motion to go into exec at 6:06?
So moved.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Have a nice evening.